Hey guys, welcome to another battle report from That's No Moon. This time it was me facing off against Dan once again, running a Bossk and Dengar list. There it is, Dengar trying to catch out on the greens, push the limit, K4 security droid to get the target locks, and Bossk with lots of reroll goodness. Dan was trying out a sort of 3 ace list plus a TIE fighter. Little Academy of Pilot to disrupt things, which he's so good at if you check out my last 2 battle reports. Firstly, apologies with this battle report, guys, because as you can see the camera isn't quite capturing all of the table, but that pretty much doesn't matter until after the first turn, so it's all good. So not much to talk about here. Dan just starts to peel his forces down to the bottom left hand corner, mainly anticipating where I'll end up. So he does a very good job here of getting everyone in arc. As you see, barrel rolls right in front of that asteroid. So I guess here mainly I was using Dengar, try and harass his forces starting from the Academy of Pilot and then peel around sort of towards the centre of the board, while Bossk would slow roll up, trying to cause as much damage as he possibly could. So here Dengar reveals a green 3, heads up, gets a target lock thanks to K4, and I think I end up throwing a focus token on him here as well. Bossk heads up 1, clearing a stress, but he's out of range of anyone, so there'll be no shooting for him. So here I end up spending the focus token and target lock and getting 4 hits. Dan proceeds to roll 2 evades, so 2 damage go through. His shots back, chip away 1 shield from Dengar. So Dan now expertly begins to move his forces down towards Bossk to give him something to worry about. A Mega Leader goes over the debris field, cops a stress token, but avoids any damage. Inquisitor, he comes forward, he's in target lock range, gets his target lock and his evade token, pushes the limit for a focus. This is where I think it started to come undone for me. Rather than turn in to face Dan's forces and probably cop a hit from an asteroid, I took the long way around, which unfortunately in a 2-ship build like this can certainly mean the difference between winning the game and losing it. I believe if you've got 2 large ships and they're not shooting every turn, then you're potentially giving the game away because you'll just take too much damage in return. So with it being a green manoeuvre, K4 kicks in again and Dengar puts down a target lock onto a Mega Leader. Unfortunately though, after spending a target lock and a focus token, a Mega Leader just ignores it with all the natural evades. So Bossk takes a shot with his Mangler cannon, takes an ion token to put a stop to his evade token, ends up chipping a shield off and sneaking through a crit, which is a damage sensor array. So in return I get away fairly well. Inquisitor chips 2 shields off Bossk, a Mega Leader doesn't put any damage through Carnor Jacks, he chips a shield token off, and the Academy pilot fails to do any damage. Here Dan turns his Academy pilot to start chasing down the tail of Bossk. Mega Leader goes straight in for some close range or bump action. I don't actually know what Dan was planning here, or had he forgot I had a 0 manoeuvre or an Inertial Dampeners, because I think this is the turn I pulled it. Either way, all these ships are in pretty solid firing positions. So here Dengar keeps peeling around, but unfortunately I'm out of range of everything. So once again, going back to my theory of trying to keep the pressure on with 2 ships, Bossk does in fact use Inertial Dampeners here to get a range 1 shot onto a Mega Leader. So here the range 1 shot goes into a Mega Leader. I roll a hit, a crit, and 2 focus results. No target lock, unfortunately, so there's not much I could do about it, but Dan blanked out with his greens and I had 4-lommed his evade token, so a Mega Leader was taken off. So in return, Carnor Jax strips my last 3 shields off me, and Inquisitor comes in, manages to sneak through a single damage after I roll an evade. So start of another round, Dan's Academy of Pilot does 1 hard turn into range 1 of Bossk. Carnor Jax turns away here with a green, pushes the limit, barrel rolls and boosts. Dan anticipating Bossk, well, his limited moves, so he brings Inquisitor in a perfect Dan-like blocking manoeuvre. My options here are pretty limited with Dengar, who does a turn to bring it back into the centre. Unfortunately, he's out of range, and Bossk, whatever manoeuvre he reveals, he just sloths forward and bumps into Inquisitor. Here I take a 4 dice range 1 shot with Bossk onto Dan's Academy Pilot. I use 4 Lom to nullify his focus token. He rolls 3 natural evades. I use Zuckuss then and get in to re-roll them, and I manage to take the Academy Pilot out of the game. So Dan here starts to make his journey to turn Carnor back into the fight. Does a 2 to clear the stress and then a boost. Pushes the limit and puts down an evade token, I believe. Inquisitor here does a 4k turn, end up behind Bossk again into pristine shooting condition. So Bossk does a 1 bank to clear a stress token, and look at that, I missed an opportunity there for K4 security droid. Dengar peels in with a 3 bank, activating his K4 onto Carnor Jax. Bossk here shooting blanks out onto Carnor, unfortunately. Should have remembered that target lock. And Dengar spends a focus to get 3 hits, however Dan expertly evades them all. In return, Carnor chips 2 shields off Dengar, then I get to shoot back, but once again, hot dice from Dan, rolls all evades again. Inquisitor manages to sneak a critical through onto Bossk, which turns out to be a console fire. So Inquisitor sneaks forward with a green, sheds his stress, gains a target lock, evade, pushes the limit for a focus token. Carnor Jax moves into killing position for Bossk, and same deal, pushes the limit for the focus and evade token. So Bossk bumps into Carnor Jax. Dengar follows suit as well. Dengar takes a range 3 shot at Inquisitor, but no damage gets through. Dan rolls 1 evade and Autothrusters kicks in. Inquisitor shoots back into Bossk for 3 damage. So I'm clueless about that stress token that's just appeared around Dengar, so my apologies for that. Carnor Jax does a 2, clears his stress, boosts around and pushes the limit for an evade token. Inquisitor pushes forward 3, clears his stress and loads up on the tokens. Dengar does a white sloop turn. Once again, the stress is there. I've got no clue why. If you know, let me know. Bossk won't make it round there, bumps into Carnor again. So here, after much debate, Dengar goes for a range 3 shot onto Carnor Jax, but as usual, Dan turns out to be better at dice games than me and rolls his evades. In return, Inquisitor cleans up poor Bossk. So more or less for the rest of the game sees Dan trying to get into not only good shooting positions, but also trying to block Dengar, whereas I was trying to get into positions to defend where I would have Dan's ships in my arc, so I could essentially get the double tap. This round sees him get a target lock, all the tokens and trimmings back on his ships. I do a horrendous 3 forward, I get a target lock but bump into Inquisitor, but luckily for me I'm out of arc of Carnor Jacks. 4 dice range 1 onto Carnor Jacks produces a hit and a crit, but Dan's focuses save him from it. So this is my attempt to get out of a sticky situation and trying to capitalise. Dan well and truly gets behind me with Carnor Jacks. Inquisitor goes forward, barrel rolls, target locks. Actually I think he does a focus. I managed to do a red sloop turn here, as Dan was thinking I would have gone the other way, which is very lucky for me, but it's just a shame my red dice let me down. A 4 dice range 1 onto Inquisitor nets me only 2 hits, which he evades both of. Inquisitor turns in here, loads up on the tokens, Carnor Jacks turns in. I think Dan he was going for the block, he barrel rolls, successfully pulls out the block, although Dengar goes forward 2 bank I believe, just ends up outside of Inquisitor's firing arc, so I was pretty lucky in that regard. 4 dice onto Inquisitor nets me 3 hits, although Autothrusters, tokens, green dice take care of all of that damage. We all know Hindsight's a great tool. Looking here on the battle report now with Dengar, I think I'd planned to go down to the bottom left hand corner, but in actual fact it probably wouldn't have been a bad option to turn into the right hand side with a hard 1 perhaps. That would have been a green, would have at least cleared my stress and got me a target lock. I think I end up going a 2 forward, so K4 security droid still kicks in. I bump the back of Carnor Jacks, I get a target lock on Inquisitor, however he is just in arc of me as well. Think about Glitterstim here for a while, but decide not to pop it. I get 3 hits on the Inquisitor with my target lock, but no damage goes through. In return, Inquisitor chips off Dengar's last shield and puts down a single damage card. So Dan gets in a good position here to potentially block me from doing any tight turns towards the right hand side of the table edge. Inquisitor cruises down, cover an arc there that I could potentially escape from. Here Dengar performs a 1 hard turn, I barrel roll and push the limit for a target lock action onto Carnor Jacks. 4 dice onto Carnor Jacks, 2 hits, 2 blanks, I re-roll the target lock, still come up with 2 blanks, and Dan evades them all. So as you could imagine, getting pretty frustrated with the dice at this stage. So once again, Dan getting in good position, shoot on only a few places sort of Dengar can go to hide. Loads up on his token fest. Dengar does a 3 bank, which is green, clears the stress, gets a free target lock thanks to K4 onto Carnor Jacks, and barrel rolls. Basically just to anticipate that debris field next turn. So more amazingly terrible dice. I get 3 hits at range 1. Dan's Autothrusters and everything else doesn't quite take care of it, and I sneak 1 hit through onto Carnor Jacks. In return, Inquisitor does a further 2 damage onto Dengar. Last round of the game here, Dan does a 2 bank with Carnor, Clearing his stress, loads up on tokens again. Inquisitor, same thing, it just falls short of bumping Dengar. I just move forward 2, gain a target lock onto Carnor Jax, take a focus action. Roll 3 hits with the target lock. Dan unfortunately dodges them all. And I take 3 hits back, evade 1, winning it. So there you have it, another smashing by Dan. Where did it go wrong? Maybe my inexperience with the Jump Master at this stage. Probably the second or third time I'd only flown it, and clearly I'm not playing to Dengar's strengths. Rather than facing the opponent and getting that double shot, I was practically running away the whole game, which is certainly not the way to play him. Thanks for checking out the battle report, guys, and check out the blog.